Ooh, child, did someone say big chop? Oh, not the big chop. Are you contemplating a big chop or questioning if you need one because you follow the Black Girl Curls, no oils and butters hair care methodology? You know, that 30-day hair detox? And then maybe you got a few curly cuts sprinkled in between and, you know, now your hair is feeling, well, little suspect. Well, we gonna discuss all of it and I'm gonna give it to you straight, no chaser. And then maybe it'll help you decide on what you need to do next or not. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, curl friends and healthy hair friends and all the friends, welcome back to your girl's channel. It's your girl Shelly B, and today we are going to be talking about the things that you need to kind of be looking out for to determine if whether or not you need to consider maybe cutting your hair or possibly even doing a big chop. Those things consist of Velcroed ends, webbing, a change in the color of your hair, and a change in the texture of your hair, as well as keyhole splits. And we're gonna call them tree branch splits. You know, the types of splits that you will find going up your hair strand. Like, I mean, in my case, it was from the ends to the roots, but just the mid-strand splits. So let's discuss all those things and then you can decide on what you want to do. Now, I am not here to try and encourage you or persuade you to do a big chop or to cut your hair. That is a very personal decision. But if you follow the Black Girl Curls, no oils and butters method, your 30-day hair detox, and possibly got some curly cuts and you feel like your hair has sustained some damage, then this video is for you. Now, it's important to note that there are people out there who have done this method, done both methods, and they say that their hair is thriving and amazing. So if that's you, this video is not for you. Keep doing what you're doing. And hey, I'm so happy for you.
See, me happy.
Because for those of us who had the opposite experience, it ain't been nothing nice. So like I said, if this doesn't pertain to you, girl, I don't need you all down in the comments talking about my hair is thriving, my hair is good, I'm having the best hair of my life. Like we get it. We're happy for you. That's amazing. But there's several of us out there who have been struggling.
Let me see what's going on. Oh, they haven't shown me around.
And so that's who this video is directed to. So let's just jump right into all the little different caveats and just cover them, because you know we got receipts. We got receipts, girl. All right, let's jump into it. I first stumbled across the method. Girl, I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. Like, I was so excited. I felt like I was experiencing my best wash and goes. I felt like my hair was thriving. And it was really interesting because I felt like my hair was like really pretty and all of that. And from my perspective, I feel like there was a very heavy emphasis on attaining pretty hair rather than healthy hair. But I felt like we were led to believe that not only were we attaining beautiful hair, but we were attaining very healthy hair. Hindsight, I mean, you know, we do got a big chop, tells a whole different story, right? So one of the first things that I noticed was my hair just started acting and behaving differently. One of the things was my hair started webbing. And I really didn't know what that was at first, but it's when your hair is severely dehydrated and your cuticle on your hair strand cannot lay down flat, right? So it's like lifted, you know what, we're gonna do it like this. It's like lifted up. And because it's lifted up, it starts to grab onto the hairs that are adjacent to it. And then it causes just what it sounds like, which is webbing. Think of a spider web. It causes webbing. And so when you are trying to style your hair and you're sectioning it and pulling it apart, you will see the webbing. That's one sign that something is kind of off. Now, there are some stylists out there on our curls who will try and argue the fact that webbing is normal, but there are also stylists out there who will tell you that it's not normal. And if you look up webbing, you will see, matter of fact, I'm gonna put it on the screen, you will see that it's severely dehydrated hair where that cuticle is not laying down. So that's the first thing. Okay, and so the next thing is Velcroed ends. So what I mean by Velcroed ends is that your hair will literally begin to feel like the ends are Velcroing. Like when you are styling your hair or trying to detangle your hair, your ends will feel like you have Velcro on the ends of them. And that is another kind of red flag that something is not right. I will say this, that while I was getting curly cuts, I noticed it was probably when I got into my second curly cut that I noticed that started to begin to happen. And the periods of time of where I wouldn't be experiencing that became shorter and shorter after the curly cuts. And then I realized it was because every time I got a curly cut, it just kind of thinned out my ends and just made them more kind of Velcro-y. Once I got my hair blown out and cut in that way, that problem pretty much went away because that cut just seemed to alleviate that whole situation. So I think that has to do more with the curly cuts and not so much the no oils and butters method. That is my perspective. If your experience has been something different, please leave it down in the comments because I would love to hear what your experience has been, because this is how we're gonna learn. We're all gonna learn together. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's keep going. And when it comes to the curly cuts, the reason why I feel the no oils and no butters method played a bigger role than the curly cuts did is because when I think about the curly cuts pretty much just didn't capture all my split ends, right? There was no damage that I'm aware of that took place with the act of cutting a curly cut. I mean, cutting is cutting, but my issue with curly cuts is that when they're cutting the hair, when you're cutting tightly kinky coily hair, it's hard to see all the split ends on the end. Now, I know a lot of stylists, the curl specialists will be like, we can see the ends, we know what needs to be cut and blah, blah, blah. I personally don't buy that for a minute because my experience says the complete opposite. After getting routine curly cuts, I was left with a culmination of split ends because it's my belief that a lot of my split ends were left because they weren't all fully addressed, even though I thought they were being properly addressed during my maintenance curly cuts. And so for that reason, I'm just like, I'm cool on curly cuts. They are beautiful for shape, but if I were to ever get a curly cut again, which I will not, but if I did, I would do a hybrid version of it where I would get my hair blown out and cut to make sure all the ends of my hair were addressed and that all the split ends were captured. Then I would have it set in a wash and go, and then I would have it shaped up with a curly cut. That's my ideal way of doing it if you want to get a curly cut. However, I know there are curl specialists, one in particular, who said she's no longer going to do them because she realized through a particular client that, and I don't know everything that went on, but apparently through a particular client that she thought her hair was thriving through doing them, she realized it just wasn't. And so she actually announced that she will no longer be offering curly cuts. And she's a pretty prominent curl specialist in the community, I would say. And then not only that, I feel like it thins out your ends over time. So if you're someone who is looking for thicker hair, I really think getting your hair blown out, now I ain't a professional, I ain't got a license at first, but I really believe that getting your hair blown out and then getting it trimmed, you will end up with thicker ends and hair overall, because that's just been everybody's experience that I've talked to that has transitioned into getting their hair blown out and cut. And it was my experience too. And less trouble detangling during your wash days. Like, it's all just a really positive thing. So, but do what you want. Do what you want. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just delivering the information. Let's keep going. So then the next thing that I experienced was a texture change in my hair. And what do I mean by that? So my texture of my hair changed drastically, and it didn't change all over. It changed in different spots, like, and it wasn't uniform at all. That's how I knew my hair wasn't growing in like that, because had it been a hormonal change or something from my diet or just something off within my body, it would have been from the root out all the way throughout my head of hair, pretty even, right? But no, it was kind of like a Dalmatian. It was like spots, you know, throughout my head of hair. And it gradually got worse over time. Like it started out in the front, and then all of a sudden it was on this side, and then I would just see it sprinkled in throughout my head of hair. And when I talk about the texture change, girl, it was so bizarre. And I'm not trying to hair type, but the only way that I can explain how drastic of a change it was is to use the hair typing chart to give you an example. And I'm not trying to say that I got 3C hair and not 4C or anything like that, because I don't care nothing about that. The reason why I bring it up once again. Now let me just jump in here and clarify once again, because I don't want anybody thinking that I'm trying to promote texturism or trying to say that I have 3C hair and that I think 4C is bad. That is not the case whatsoever. All I'm trying to do is highlight the fact that I did have a very extreme texture change in my hair, and I honestly don't care what texture my hair is. I just wanted it the same all throughout. I don't care the texture. Just please hear me loud and clear. I don't care what the texture is. I just want it the same texture throughout because it makes it easier to style and wear. Okay? Just making sure, because you already know. Because I don't want to hear nobody down in the comments like, she's over here using texturism and all that. Like, that's not what we doing, sis. Okay? But to give the example, just so you know, just so you know how extreme the change was in my hair, was, let's say I had 3C hair. Those areas where I experienced the texture changed to like 4C. And so I was tasked with trying to style my hair with the two different texture changes. And it was just the most bizarre and, like I said, craziest thing I have dealt with. And what I realize now is that the lipid layer of my hair was removed. At least that's what we believe it to be. And I talked to a cosmetic chemist who's also a tight curl specialist, and that's where I got that tidbit of information from. I didn't just pull that out of the air, and then I went and researched it, and it sounds like it's exactly what occurred within my hair. So let's talk a little bit more about why that occurred, so that maybe I can save you from it, or if you're noticing it in your hair, like, you will kind of know what it is, and you will know you're not crazy, because this whole thing will legit have you feeling like you're a little crazy. Like it will have you feeling some kind of way, for real, for real. And by the way, I was not the only one who experienced a texture change in my hair. Rosie Amelia, she experienced it too. And Simply Tams, like, there's several people who experienced texture changes. For their hair, they experienced it a little bit different, but it's because we have different textures of hair, right? So how it changed my texture was different from how it changed their texture. So just keep that in mind. And we all agree that their texture change was a little bit more challenging to pinpoint. They knew something was off and wrong, but it was a little bit more challenging to pinpoint because they couldn't necessarily see it as easy until they really started paying attention to it. Whereas mine was so drastic in the appearance that you could really see it. All right, so what caused the texture change? Because I'm gonna insert some pictures, because you know we bring in the receipts. We ain't just over here just talking mess and smack and being like, and then it tore my head up, girl. Like I I mean, it just jacked me up. And you're like, well, how? Let me see. Take my word for it. No, sis, we want to see them receipts. So here are some pictures of what I'm talking about in terms of my head of hair and the texture change that I experienced. And what we believe happened is there was some over cleansing that occurred. So in the Black Girl Curls method, they have a curated list of products, right? And on that curated list of products, they recommend certain shampoos. Some of those shampoos are all-purpose shampoos, and then you have the moisturizing and hydrating shampoos, and then you have a few clarifying shampoos. The biggest thing that you were supposed to use weekly was an all-purpose and moisturizing shampoo. Most people were encouraged, depending on their lifestyle, to cleanse their hair with an all-purpose shampoo and then chase it with a moisturizing shampoo to help replenish some of that moisture back into their hair strands. Well, come to find out, one of the shampoos that was recommended on the list was AG Boost. I believe it's Boost. I always get the Balance and the Boost mixed up. If I got them twisted around, y'all know what I'm talking about. So what we now know is that AG Boost actually kind of acts like a clarifying shampoo in our hair. I don't know if it's the same for Caucasian hair, but for textured hair, it really behaves more like a clarifying shampoo.
The AG Boost, the AG Balance, which was the shampoo, was a gentle clarifying shampoo, pH level 4.5, 5.5. So it was a gentle clarifying shampoo. To me, it was not an all-purpose shampoo. It had a very cleansing effect, even though it was considered an all-purpose shampoo. I don't think, and I never encourage my clients to use it as an all-purpose. It was to be used specifically to clarify that hair 6 to 8 weeks after using regular shampoos.
So it just really cleanses your hair well.
I didn't even recommend my clients to do the 30-day hair detox because I did not want them to become the opposite of what we were trying to do.
I usually ask all of my clients that I start working with to give me 12 months. Give this whole process 12 months before you bail out.
That's great because it's nice to have your hair properly and fully cleansed, right? But when you're only chasing it with a rinse out conditioner and you've really just stripped all the oils and stuff out of your hair really needs something more to replenish everything that you've stripped out. The problem is that a lot of us were not using deep conditioners any longer because within that hair care system, it was discouraged. We were told it was a treatment and we didn't need them, so we didn't use them. And then a lot of us weren't using leave-in conditioners as well because we were told it was a no-hold styler and there was no use in using it because it would not allow your wash and go to last as long and you wouldn't get as good a curl definition if you used a leave-in. So then fast forward, you're going straight in after you cleanse, use the rinse out conditioner, you're going straight in with botanical based gels. So my experience was when I was using the botanical based gels that when I would go to wash my hair, even if I had worked out all week, when I would go to wash my hair, as soon as I would rinse my hair out with water, those puppies would pretty much be gone. And my hair would almost feel clean just with the water. Okay, let me pause right here because I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking, well, sis, if your hair felt clean with the water, why would you then shampoo it with that super cleansing shampoo? Because that's what we were told to do. I was following the rules and I felt like if I didn't do that, I wouldn't continue to have the healthiest, prettiest hair possible. So that is why. So then I'm now going to cleanse it with the all-purpose shampoo. And oh my goodness, doing that once or twice a week, it just stripped the heck out of my hair. So you may be thinking, well, sis, you were following it up with a moisturizing and hydrating shampoo. Didn't that help? Well,
Shampoos like the hydrating innocence, which come to find out a little bit later, we needed to make some adjustments with that as well.
That actually started to act as a clarifying shampoo too, because think about it, when your hair is already pretty clean and you're using an all-purpose shampoo first, and then you chase it with a moisturizing shampoo, like for me, my hair was just extra clean. Like it was just stripped. It was so stripped. And then I went back into that cycle of cleanse, condition, and then style. And so I was never truly replenishing my hair with any of the goodness that it truly needed to be replenished with. So over time, my lipid layer just got removed, and your lipid layer is what helps hold in moisture in your hair. And once it's gone, it's gone. You cannot replace it whatsoever. I thought I could originally with deep conditioning treatments, but no, once it's gone, it's gone. And if you've been following along since this whole thing has begun, you will have noticed that, like, as we've connected the dots on certain things, you will see other individuals, the stylist and the owner of Black Girl Curls, Aisha, kind of pivot and change things. So once we started talking about the concerns around the shampoos that were being recommended from that curated list, and the fact that a lot of us were over cleansing our hair, and that could be contributing to the damage that we were sustaining, all of a sudden you saw them pivot and move and start to say, hey, are you over cleansing? And then they started talking about that. And then all of a sudden they started talking about the fact that deep conditioners may be warranted to counteract all the over cleansing. But we had already been saying, hey, you need to add back in deep conditioners into your arsenal of products. And not everybody, let me just say, not everybody's gonna need to deep condition their hair, right? If you have healthy hair, you may be someone that doesn't need to deep condition your hair. I personally will always deep condition my hair moving forward. Once a week, I will deep condition. My hair can be as healthy as it wants to be, and it may just be because I'm traumatized, but I will always deep condition. And I'm not trying to give bad hair advice, because I do recognize that there are those individuals out there that don't have to do that. They can get away with once a month or hardly ever. However, I feel for my hair, I will deep condition every week, point blank, period. And that is non-negotiable for me. Okay, so where was I? So you have seen those individuals start to pivot and change their recommendations and suggestions around, you know, the utilization of shampoos and all that sort of stuff. But that's because we realized that it was stripping the heck out of our hair. And so if you are someone and you're experiencing the webbing, and you're experiencing perhaps a texture change, or your hair is just feeling very stripped, pay attention to that, because your hair is speaking to you. Your hair is telling you it's not okay. The next thing I noticed, and a lot of us noticed, was a discoloration in the color of our hair. So as you can see, my hair is very dark. This is my natural hair color. I don't have any hair dye in my hair at all. But one of the things that I also noticed as my hair had become severely damaged is that my color changed. It actually started turning a light brown. I will insert a picture so that you can see what I'm talking about. My hair also became very dull. It had lost its sheen. Like, my hair always has had like a natural shine to it without any product. If I wrap it around my finger, you'll see the shine, and you can just kind of see it when it's wet with no product in it. Well, my hair had changed a color to where it just looked, it just didn't look like the same head of hair. And even when I would blow it out and straighten it, like, the color difference was drastically different. So pay attention to that as well, because girl, if your mess is changing colors and you ain't putting no dye in there, and you're noticing your hair is getting lighter and you have all the other things, you may want to just look at that and be like, don't sleep on it. That's all I'm saying. Don't sleep on it. Because a lot of the people who have experienced damage, they also notice a color change in their hair, and it wasn't for the positive, okay? Oh, and my color change was the worst in the areas where I had the texture change. I started seeing it all throughout my head of hair, but it was the worst in those areas where I had, you know, the change in texture. So look out for that as well. Now let's talk about them keyhole splits and those branch tree splits and all of that, because if you are seeing those in your hair, like, don't dismiss those. That is not normal. And one of the best ways to look for them is to take your shed hair. I got this trick from the African Hair Guy.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
You want butt naked hair.
Oh my God, bucket ladies.
Okay, so I rinse it off with a little bit of shampoo and then I lay it out to dry. And that's how I began to be able to thoroughly examine my shed hair. But that is a way that you can examine your hair every wash day, just to kind of keep, you know, a close eye on how your hair is doing while you're wearing your hair in whatever style you're choosing to wear it in. But I thought that was a great tip because, man, it allowed me to see everything. So if you are seeing keyhole splits or any mid-strand splits going up your hair, obviously you are in trouble. There is nothing that you can do to repair that. There's no product on the market that will repair a split end. The only repair at that point is to cut it. And that is the harsh reality of it. It just hurts my soul. It just hurts my soul. Another thing that I failed to mention in the beginning of the video is if you are noticing that your hair is unraveling, that is a telltale sign that you probably have some severe damage going on like I had. And what do I mean by unraveling? So you will notice it in one of two ways. If you're wearing your hair straight, you will legit notice that after you get your hair trimmed, it will feel like a fresh new cut. But within a matter of a few days or even a week, it just depends on how bad it is in your head of hair. The hair will start to have all these flicky bits. Flicky bits are basically pieces of hair that kind of like flick out, and sometimes they don't have a split end on them, but in my case, they had split ends on them, and they're just like throwing up gang signs, as he would say. Stole that from the African Hair Guy. We just, like he said, it needs to go in a cosmetology book. So I just kept seeing all these flicky bits, and the flicky bits will not lay down because I don't care how much you flat iron them, they're not going to lay down because it's damaged hair, and damaged hair won't lay smooth. It's gonna flick up and out. And so you will notice that, and the hair will just begin to split and it unravels. And when you go to comb it, it's like you will go to comb it and your hair, the comb will glide through your hair smoothly, and then all of a sudden when you hit that part where it's begun to unravel, it'll almost feel like there's like a thick, I don't know how to explain it. How do I explain it? Let me think. Hold on. Give me a second. So the way you'll know is like right after you're done with your fresh cut, you will be able to just comb right through your hair. And then when it starts to unravel, you'll go to comb through your hair and it'll be like there's something blocking you from being able to just easily comb through. That's the way it presented in my hair. And you could not tell when your hair was wet and curly. So when I was wearing it in a wash and go, I could not tell. It was only when I would blow out my hair that I would be like, oh, it started to do that again. It started to unravel. So if you're wearing it strictly in a wash and go, chances are you won't notice it. But if you blow out your hair, you will more than likely notice it, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it'll be because your hair is unraveling. And for me, that just went on and on and on. And it was, I think that was one of the toughest parts of cutting your hair and feeling like you had cut all the damage off and that you were through the woods, just to see it unravel again and feel that feeling, or to see the flicky bits.
Trifling.
And you just be like, oh my gosh. But the damage is usually so extensive that it literally is just all up and down your hair strands. It's crazy. It's crazy. There's just been so many things, and it's just been so bizarre. But I will tell you, because I've said this before, that this type of damage, it runs rampant through your hair.
About any hair between 20 and 24, we're talking this is all COVID hair.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And it just runs rampant through your hair. And so you really do get to a point where you're kind of in a pickle and you're like, do I cut it or don't I? And it's the hardest decision, right? Especially when you don't want to cut your hair, or if you feel like you don't have the face for short hair. It's just like, oh my gosh. But you know, ultimately the decision is yours. And obviously you want to partner with a stylist and have them assess your hair and just kind of see where you are. I can tell you that it has been my experience that a lot of stylists don't seem to know how to properly assess for this type of damage. And I think it's because this is just something that no one has ever really seen before, like this type of damage. It's crazy when you think about the fact that a lot of us were not using any heat in our hair. Well, I shouldn't say any heat, because I know there's people out there that's like, you were using hooded dryers and you're using a blow dryer. That's heat.
Listen to me. Like I do this all the time.
Yes, but we weren't like flat ironing our hair and using direct heat. We were all using indirect heat for the most part. And we were using high quality salon products. We were using botanical based styling gels. We were sitting under the hooded dryer, and we were routinely washing our hair and all of that. So to experience this type of damage and this level of it is just really mind blowing, right? So I just wanted to bring y'all this video specifically for those individuals who are out there and they've noticed that they have dandruff. They've noticed they have damage, or they're suspecting that they may have damage, and they're not really sure what to look for, and they're not really sure what's considered severe versus not. These are all the things collectively that we have noticed that you really should be keeping an eye out for. And that doesn't mean you have to cut your hair. Like I said, it's your choice, and everybody moves in their own time and they do what's comfortable for them. But I would, oh my goodness, my daughter's so sweet. She brought me a little piece of her cookie that she baked. I'm like, oh, I have the sweetest babies. Where was I? So as a result of all of that, I ended up having to get a big chop because I had all these keyhole splits in my hair. I had tree branch splits, like literally, you've heard me say it. I have the infamous hair that everybody has seen, which we gonna show it again, you know, for good measure, because in case you're new to my channel, I just want you to see what we've been talking about. I mean, that hair is split from the root to the tip. Like, I had that writing throughout my whole head of hair. And you know, I tried to cut my hair slowly but surely, but I kept seeing these flicky bits. I continued to notice the texture change in different parts of my hair. And I also noticed that the damage, it just wasn't like staying put. You know how normal damage, you can allow your hair to grow slowly and just slowly cut it out until it grows back so you don't have to get scalped? Not this type of damage, honey. It just got in your hair and just spread. And the only option for a lot of us has been to big chop. And so here we are. I tried to cut it slowly, but child, we just had to go on and big chop. So you too can have a big chop as well if you want. If you want, I don't know if you want. But it would be nice, you know, if at some point an apology was given.
That is funny.
Or people would acknowledge that there were really no long-term receipts of what this method would do to the hair or not, if it truly did yield healthy, happy hair. I've read through some comments where someone even asked, like, where's the research behind this method? Like, where did this method even come from? And there are really no answers to that I've seen. If y'all have seen them, please correct me and tell me. But like, I don't believe that there's any research behind this method. And that's really unfortunate, because what I've come to believe is that myself, as well as individuals like Rosie and Simply Tams and others, we are the long-term receipts. We are those, and we have all three had to do big chops. So take that, you know, and do with it what you may, but that's the truth of it all. So what are the key takeaways from today's video? Am I saying that if you follow the no oils, no butters method, that your hair is gonna be severely damaged and that you're gonna end up having to get a big chop? Absolutely not. Honey, there are some people who swear about this method and they say that their hair is thriving and that they are having their best hair days.
Do it now.
And they will argue you down to the ground if you say anything negative about it or even speak about your experience. So there are individuals who this method indeed does work for, according to them.
Tell me this, are you having a problem with your hair?
Yeah.
Because I don't, none of my clients have brought that to my salon.
Are you done?
Like that.
So nasty.
And that's what happened.
So rude.
I don't know, but just from my perspective, it seems like there are an astronomical amount of individuals who follow the method, and now they're kind of in a similar boat that I have found myself in, and they've had to cut a significant amount of hair off, or they're dealing with the aftermath of it in terms of trying to slowly cut the damage out, or they just feel like their hair is severely dehydrated and they're trying to restore the moisture in their hair desperately. So there's two sides of the spectrum. You have to decide what is best for your own head of hair, but I just say do your homework. Do your homework. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just take, you know, what my experience has been, because maybe it'll be amazing for you. I don't know. Or maybe you will follow it to a T, like I felt I did, and then, girl, you can join me in short baddie world, because we, you know, we short baddies now. Or do they call it bald-headed baddie? I don't know. Just like the fact that there's the word baddie in it. Look, I feel a little dance in my soul coming off. I just feel it. Okay, so just pay attention to what your hair's behavior is, the characteristics, all of that. I know a lot of us don't like to use heat in our hair. You know, I don't have a problem with that anymore. I did at first, but consider maybe talking to your stylist that you're partnering up with and see if they're okay with stretching your hair out periodically, just to check the health of it and assess your hair for any particular damage, and just to make sure it's chef's kiss still. And that way you can have your best hair days too. I'm excited to see where this hair journey is going to take me. I'm not going to be doom and gloom about it. I'm going to continue to uplift myself and be happy, because you know what? It could always be worse. Like, I could literally be struggling in a different realm. And so I'm just going to embrace this part of my journey and just see where it takes me, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm just thankful for the friendships that I've developed through this situation. I'm thankful for the learnings that I have learned through it. I'm thankful, you know, for the thick skin that I've been able to develop. I'm thankful that I've been able to keep my goofy sense of humor through it. And I'm just thankful for new beginnings. And with that, bye.